We're here with Susan Steinberg of Mirrors to Windows, and you got to tell me, what is Mirrors to Windows?
It's a film about 10 international artists who live and work in London. And the title came up because there was a well-known French filmmaker named Agnes Varda. And I read what she wrote. She said, "You look in the mirror and you see yourself. You turn it the other way and you see the world." And I felt that the film about women artists are really a reflection of today's world. 70% of the art students in England, in London, and in America are women. And that's what began this whole sort of journey about telling this story.
Well, and you tell the story of 10 women, as you mentioned, and this is over a 3-year journey. What was it, when you set out and found them? What was that process like of identifying who your 10 women were going to be?
Well, it actually took me 9 months to cast the film.
Okay.
I must have seen the work of 250 artists. I narrowed it down to about 60. I met them all. I talked to them. And there were 2 criteria. One, I wanted an age range because this is a collective biography. I wanted the young, who were young and innocent and driven. And so I started with 23-year-old Sarah Letterman. And then I wanted the experienced one. And I ended with 80-year-old Rose Wiley, who wasn't discovered until she was 76 years of age.
Oh, wow.
And I wanted this to be intimate, so not only did I have to love their art, but they all had to work in different mediums, because I didn't want any repetitiveness in terms of dealing with the creative process, and I had to be able to have a personal relationship with them. So I found 10 artists from 6 different countries, and I thought that reflected the international world that we all live in today.
What are the countries?
The countries are Egypt,
Okay.
Iran, Germany, France, the United States, and England.
Wow. Okay, of all 6 of those, which are you looking forward to going back to see?
Well, I live in London.
Okay.
I'm an American, but I live and work in London. So it's not, I'd like to go see all of them. They all live in London, so we've become friendly with all of them. I'd love to go to Cairo with Nermeen Hammam, who did these extraordinary work on the Arab Spring. I mean, it's just extraordinary what she has done. She uses photographic techniques, but her work is much more like a painter.
Well, and this is an interesting film because this isn't your first film. You've been filmmaking for a while. In fact, you started off as an editor back in the day. Can you tell me, how did you make that transition from editor to filmmaking?
Well, I started off as an editor in the days of heady rock and roll. I worked on Gimme Shelter, and I worked on a notorious film called Cocksucker Blues. That's a behind-the-scene film that was made by a well-known photographer named Robert Frank, and it was banned. So it's never been out, but everyone knows.
Why?
Well, it's really about sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
I would hope that title would mean that, but okay.
And so I then became a very successful film editor, and I edited a film for American Masters, which is a series on public television, and the director got an Emmy for it. And I had really redone the whole film in the editing room. I was sort of hired because the film was in trouble. And the executive producer of the film, Susan Lacey, said, "What film would you like to make?" And so I was offered to make a film, and I chose to make a film on a very well-known journalist whose name is Edward R. Murrow, who was the father of broadcast journalism in the United States. And he is also the only journalist who tackled McCarthy and brought him down. And so I made a 2-hour biographical film on Murrow, and nobody else had done it. Every journalist had tried, but somehow or other I pulled it off, and it won an Emmy, and shall we say from that point on, the rest is history. But before I did that, after having the director win an Emmy based on my work as an editor,
Right.
I went to the American Film Institute, and I was accepted there as a director fellow. And it was at the AFI that I began directing films. And it was after that that I had to go back to editing to make a living, because, well, you know, you don't.
Filmmaking, you don't get into it sometimes to make money.
Well, you know, you're going from an editor director, you go to the AFI, you come out and you say, well, I'm a director, but no one else really wants to hire you. So you go back and you're an editor, and then something happened, and that's what happened.
But what a great thing, because now you have both in front, you know, of knowing what you're going to direct, and then I'm sure you're editing it in your head of how it's going to go.
Well, no, I'm on a fishing expedition. The editing room is my paint box, and I shoot a tremendous amount of material. I probably shoot like 200 hours of film. I shot it all myself, but I make the film in the editing room. I have the ideas beforehand, but I really am I really put out a very wide net, and then I really hone it down as if I needed to kind of go that direction.
So filmmakers, learn editing. It will help you along the process, right?
Fantastic.
Okay, thank you so very much for taking a moment with us, and I look forward to seeing your film. Again, Mirrors to Windows. You can find it on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com/Mirrors to Windows.
And see the website on the same thing in the trailer. Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.